Quitting. In the mentoring coaching business, you see an awful lot of people quit. So why do people quit? Good question, and one that's worth thinking about. One of my best friends is a former Navy SEAL. I spent a lot of time with him, and one of the lessons I learned from him is just how many people quit during the Navy SEAL training. And when he and I did a lot of canoeing in the backwoods of Michigan, just how little quit was in him. You know, we were tired, it was physical, but paddle after paddle after paddle, he kept going, and so did I. One of the reasons for that was that I saw just what you were capable of and continued on, and that's one of the important lessons as well. One of the reasons that I do success stories is to point out that this process, this acquisition process, does in fact work and people are successful. But as my mentor in this said, you have to concentrate on those that persist. So back to the original question, why do people quit? Most people quit because of a financial excuse. Well, I can't afford to do this anymore. Or some other external person said that I shouldn't do this anymore. But ultimately, the reason people quit, because there is almost always a way to find the financial resources for something, is their emotional bank account. And that's why so much time is spent on mindset. Well, I really don't think I can do it. I've had problems before, I've got problems now, and maybe this isn't for me. And so they eventually throw the towel in, a great percentage of them. But thankfully, not everyone does. And I've talked about a mentee of mine, and if you think about the process that he's been through and how many people would have persisted through it. Pre-COVID, or in the early days of COVID, he ended up with 5 LOIs. For those that have worked to get LOIs, you know that that's not an insignificant task. But when COVID hit, those 5 LOIs disappeared. Businesses were closed. The sellers decided, well, I don't know what's going to happen here, so let's wait or at least stop for now. And that being the case, all 5 disappeared. Pretty good gut punch, and I would wonder how many people would have continued. Thankfully, he did. He then had a letter campaign that generated about a 30% response rate. That worked really well until about that same time when those letters didn't work well anymore, and he went about a year without any response. How many people would have quit after that? So you've had a process that worked for prospecting, you've got 5 LOIs, all 5 of those blow up, all of a sudden your letters don't work anymore. But he persisted. He didn't quit. And he actually told me that it never crossed his mind to quit because he knew this process worked. Fast forward through those experiences, which tested him, and he's completed his first 2 deals. He's got a pipeline, which is super strong right now. He's got a bank facility that allows him to do acquisitions. He's got investors as well. And he's in the process of, in fact, has submitted his resignation from the day job because there's enough cash flow for him to do this full time, which was his dream all along, to create something, to be able to do it on a full-time basis, and he's done that. So those are important for me to see, and it's one of the reasons I keep doing this. You know, as I said earlier, you have to concentrate on the people who succeed, not on the people who quit, and put your focus there and trying to work towards dragging as many across the goal line as possible. Towards that end, I've got a VIP mastermind group. There's 2 spots left in that. That will be starting next Tuesday. And then additionally, group coaching. One of the things that always surprises me about group coaching is there's really only a couple ways that you can get thrown out of group coaching. One is if you fail to do a weekly report, which is 1 page. Actually, there are people who have done 2-paragraph weekly reports. The day before, by 5 o'clock, the actual meeting. Or if you obviously fail to pay over the periods of time, then you're going to be asked to leave as well. But most people leave not because of the payment issue, but because they fail to submit a weekly report. And I would argue that in most cases, while they say, well, I forgot to do that, it's pretty self-sabotaging behavior. You should be able to end up with a weekly report, especially if you're doing something. And then how hard is it to submit a one-page weekly report that just doesn't take you that long to do the day before or 2 days before or 3 days before? It just has to be in by 5 o'clock the day before the group meeting. So think about what your why is for doing this. Think about what your reason is for persisting. And that oftentimes will knock out the reason to quit. There are times when you get a gut punch that it's like, well, maybe this isn't for me. But if you just think about the times that you've persisted through hardships before, you've been on the brink of quitting, I bet. And those times that you persisted and kept going through that, some good things like the mentee's story that I just shared with you happen. So if you're interested in group coaching or VIP, just go over to brucewhipple.com and look at the coaching, and you'll see both of those. And then additionally, if you haven't already, go over to brucewhipple.com, go to the free class, which is the top 10 objections when acquiring an acquisition. And you'll see the top 10 reasons why people give you objections and what those answers are. So, and if you want to go directly to that, just go.brucewhipple.com/free class. So I hope you don't quit. I hope you find a reason to persist through the hardships. And for many, the success at the end is even sweeter based on the things that you've had to go through to get there.